Store.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com.
So now they need a bank account. But they're still a minor, so someone has to sign with them on their behalf.
Gotcha.
I know, they're growing so big. They got a job at the local pool.
Okay.
So they're doing lifeguard training and stuff, and they say it's hard. I'm like, bless your little heart.
Aw.
Could not be me.
All right, my poor raspy voice today, but okay. We'll be all right.
The time is 10 a.m.
Thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Tony, and I'm here with Madeline. We invite you to listen to our broadcasts, both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel, Monday through Friday, between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. Madeline?
Good morning, my name is Madeline Barnes, and today I'll be reading the non-for-profit community bike shop expanding with new location on historic C Street. Today we got a picture of a couple bikes, what looks like in a bike shop. The SBC Community Bike Shop at the Fairbanks will open a retail store on the west end of historic Commercial Street this summer. The SBC Community Bike Shop, a non-for-profit program of the Drew Lewis Foundation with support from the Springfield Brewing Company Athletics, has leased a newly built commercial space on the ground floor of a multi-family apartment complex at 411 West Commercial Street. The new retail location is aiming for a soft opening in July with a grand opening celebration to follow. Quote, "The Commercial Street location will primarily function as a storefront for bicycle sales, customer engagement, and occasional volunteer opportunities," quote, Amy Blansett, founder and CEO of the Drew Lewis Foundation, said in an email. Quote, "The majority of operations, including bike processing, repairs, storage, volunteer coordination, and larger programmer effects, will continue to remain based at the Fairbanks Community Hub," end quote. The bike shop started in the Fairbanks Community Hub located at 1126 North Broadway Avenue nearly a decade ago. The bike shop is run by volunteers. It offers bicycle safety and repair lessons and gives free bikes to children. The bike shop takes donations of used bikes and parts from the Springfield community. Quote, "The Fairbanks currently serves as the primary operational hub for bike storage, repairs, volunteer coordination, programming, and community outreach efforts," end quote, Blansett said. Quote, "The bike shop also relies heavily on quality bike donations from the community. Donated bicycles are repaired, refurbished, and redistributed at affordable prices to help expand transportation access throughout Springfield," end quote. Part of Springfield's newest affordable housing complex, a picture of historic C Street. The bike shop's retail store on C Street will be a part of Vincino's Group's Sankofa, a 42-unit, $13.5 million affordable housing complex that was just completed in spring of 2026. Sankofa is a pre-leasing unit, according to its website. The housing development intended to partner with a number of non-for-profits for its ground floor retail spaces, according to previous Daily Citizen's report. Quote, "Being located on the ground floor of Springfield's newest affordable housing development aligns naturally with the mission of both Drew Lewis Foundation and the SBC Community Bike Shop at the Fairbanks," end quote, Blansett said. Quote, "Access to reliable transportation remains a major barrier for many individuals and families, and placing affordable bicycles directly within a walkable neighborhood corridor creates a greater accessibility and opportunity for residents," end quote. The bike shop has leased the Sankofa unit for 1 year, with opportunities for renewal and a potential expansion of up to 5 years, Blansett said. Quote, "The opportunity was made possible in part through tax credit programs designed to encourage partnerships with non-for-profits and community-serving organizations," end quote, Blansett said. Though this initiative, the bike shop has been offered an affordable leasing arrangement that allows us to establish a strong community presence while continuing to expand access to affordable transportation resources. Blansett said the bike shop is eager to join Hype of C Street and be a part of a community transformation. Quote, "We believe this partnership reflects the growing momentum around collaborative community development in Springfield, where housing, transportation, local business, and non-for-profit organizations can work together to create stronger, healthier, and more connected neighborhoods," end quote.
And in breaking news this morning from Ryan Collins in the Springfield Daily Citizen, crews respond to a fire and a break-in at the Immaculate Conception School. Authorities are investigating a fire and possible burglary early Friday morning, May 22nd, at Immaculate Conception School on South Fremont Avenue. Chris Swatters, spokesperson for the Springfield Police Department, said officers on patrol heard an alarm sounding at the school just after 5 a.m. and responded. They found signs of forced entry to a door and smoke coming out of the building. Springfield Fire Department crews responded to the alarm just after 5 a.m. and arrived to find the sprinklers had extinguished the fires in the building. Brian Newberry, Assistant Chief of Emergency Services at SFD, said by phone May 22nd. A suspect was not located at the scene, Swatters said. School has been canceled on what was supposed to be the last day of the school year, as well as mass services. Springfield residents who showed up this morning for services were turned away as crews were still on the scene investigating. Hours later, some SFD and SPD crews are still on the scene for the investigation, Newberry said. However, the majority of SFD left the school around 7 a.m. A fire investigation report will be filed when the investigation is completed, Newberry said. And in other crime news, a Springfield man has been charged with statutory rape. He's been accused of getting a 12-year-old pregnant. Jackie Rewald from the Springfield Daily Citizen says that the Springfield man accused by federal prosecutors in 2024 of getting a 12-year-old girl pregnant is now also facing state charges. Brian Escobar Guarnizo, born in 1995, was charged in federal court in 2024 with sexual exploitation of a minor. He pleaded guilty to that charge on August 29, 2025. He remains in federal custody awaiting sentencing. In the meantime, Greene County prosecutors charged Escobar Guarnizo with first-degree statutory rape on February 23rd. What follows is a photo of Brian Escobar Guarnizo. It was a 2024 booking photo by the Greene County Sheriff's Office in which he is wearing a striped t-shirt but looking less than thrilled in front of the gray cinder block wall. According to the probable cause statement, the victim's mother contacted the Greene County Sheriff's Office on September 22, 2024 to file a report because she discovered her 12-year-old daughter was pregnant by Escobar Guarnizo. According to the statement, the victim and her family made the decision to terminate the pregnancy. When the fetus was passed, it was collected by detectives and sent to Endeavor Laboratory for DNA testing. A DNA sample was also collected from the victim. Escobar Guarnizo was arrested on October 6, 2024. According to the probable cause statement, Escobar Guarnizo allegedly told the detective, quote, "We only had sex one time," and that he had nude images of the victim on his phone. He also provided a DNA sample to detectives. According to the statement, the DNA results came back in 2025 showing Brian Escobar Guarnizo cannot be excluded as the biological father of the child. The probability of paternity is 99.999%.
State tournament-bound Logan Rogersville Catholic and Fairgrove I MSH SAA Hardware by Ryan Collingwood. We have a picture of a young Logan Rogersville third baseman Roham Menke catches during the Wildcats' 11-2 win over Sullivan in Class 4 semifinals on Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. 3 Greene County high school baseball teams have punched their MSHSAA state tournament tickets in the Class 4 and Class 3 ranks. Top-ranked Logan Rogersville and Springfield Catholic are each a win away from meeting in an intriguing all-Springfield area Class 4 quarterfinal. Here's how the Wildcats Fighting Irish and top-ranked Class 3 Fairgrove extended their successful seasons. Here we have a picture of Logan Rogersville coach Casey Lettle watching his Wildcats defeat the Mountain Grove Panthers in 11-0 in a 5-inning run-ruled game during Class 4 District 12 tournament on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. For the 4th time in 5 years, Logan Rogersville has reached the state tournament. Wildcats 30-4 ranked number 1 in Class 4, downed Hollister 4-2 for their latest district crown, advancing to the MSHSAA round of 16. Logan Rogersville now turns its attention to Aurora 15-15, which upset top-seeded Seneca 12-2 in the District 12 title game. The game is slated for Thursday, 5 p.m. at Aurora High School. Wildcats reached the Class 4 state title game a year ago with preliminary underclassmen who have since grown into some of the better sophomores and juniors in Southwest Missouri. It still boasts senior leadership in all-state senior catcher Tegan Trent, who is headed to NAIA Power Bellevue near Omaha, Nebraska, as well as Ozark Mountain Conference Offensive Player of the Year and Evangel-bound outfield catcher Cash Clark. Head coach Casey Lettle's squad has beat several state-ranked teams this year, including Class 6, number 3 Nixa, Class 5, number 2 Willard, and Class 5, number 7 Marshfield, and Class 3, number 1 Fairgrove. The winner of Logan Rogersville versus Aurora will face the winner of Springfield's Catholic versus Eldon in the Class 4 quarterfinals on Thursday, May 28th. Site and time to be determined. Irish back to their championship ways. Catholic registered 19 wins a season ago despite having a younger roster, injuries along its pitching staff, and battling against a loaded Class 5 district. Now the Fighting Irish are older, healthier, and objectively better and back down in the Class 4 ranks. Results? A District 10 championship and the program's first state tournament appearance after a 2-year absence. Catholic, 19-11, in its 5th state tournament in 7 years, will face Eldon, 16-15, in the round of 16 on Thursday. Time and site TBA. All-State senior catcher Nate Lask, who is headed to the NCAA Division II Angler State, Texas, has been a model of consistency for the head coach Courtney Spitz and was named the Howard Bell Player of the Year by Springfield Leadoff Club last week. Among Spitz's senior leaders in its pitcher Jack Smith, who tossed a 3-hitter in an 8-2 district championship win over Stratford this week. The Fighting Irish have double-digit losses but played one of the hardest non-conference schedules among their Class 4 peers, often loaded with big school competition. Among the impressive wins for Catholic was a 10-6 win over Glendale, the number 1 seed in its talent-packed Class 6 district tournament. Fairgrove on a mission. Fairgrove junior Jacoby McDaniel scores on a sacrifice fly to tie the game in a 1-2. Eagles defeated Clever 11-5 in the Class 3 quarterfinals on Monday, May 30th, 2025, in Meadow Park in Springfield. Photo was captured by Mary Ellen. After reaching its first state championship game in 2025 with a roster littered with talented juniors and sophomores, Fairgrove has been determined to return and finish the job. The top-ranked Eagles, 22-5, have since cruised past their Class 3 opposition this year, including 7th-ranked Ash Grove in Wednesday's 6-1 district championship win. Fairgrove will face Lamar 13-10 on Tuesday in the round of 16, time and site to be determined, as it eyes a return trip to the Ozark Mountain Sports Complex. With versatile seniors such as Macklin Johnson and Jacoby McDaniel, coupled with the junior ace and Springfield State pledge Gavin Thompson, Fairgrove's 8-3 average run differential makes sense.
And a young businessman from Turkey who created flaming margaritas in Branson has pled guilty to unlawful hiring practices. Steve Pokin with the Springfield Daily Citizen says that Berk Balcic, a young man from Turkey who once owned 2 Flaming Margaritas restaurants in Branson, pleaded guilty Wednesday morning, May 21st, in federal court to a felony charge of encouraging and inducing illegal and unauthorized aliens to reside within the United States, admitting he hired employees who were not legally authorized to work in the country. Balcic was arrested in an August 20th raid of his restaurants by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He was 26 at the time. According to federal court records, it does not appear Balcic has been sentenced by U.S. Magistrate Judge David P. Rush of the Western District of Missouri. Nevertheless, Balcic has entered a plea of guilty and has further agreed to be deported to his home country of Turkey once the case is resolved. Following is a Greene County Jail booking photo of Mr. Balcic wearing a lavender t-shirt standing in front of the gray cinder block walls, and he actually has a little bit of a smirk. According to the plea agreement, agents with Homeland Security started an investigation of Balcic and his hiring practices in June 2025 after, quote, receiving information he was knowingly employing illegal aliens to work at his 2 restaurants. Balcic owned Flaming Margaritas Mexican Kitchen at 3015 West 76 Country Boulevard, and then opened another more upscale restaurant at 1201 Branson Landing Boulevard. According to court documents, quote, undercover agents entered both restaurants posing as customers and observed numerous individuals working at the location who were listed in the employment documents and records. Quote, agents then conducted a records search and determined that at least 55% and up to 81% of the individuals listed and as employees of Balcic's were not authorized to work in the United States as it was not permitted under their existing visas. Their visas had long since expired, or the individuals working were illegally present in the United States. Following is a photo of the several cars apparently used by federal agents during the August 20th ICE raid at Flaming Margaritas on the Branson Landing. You can see Lake Taneycomo on the right in the background there. For example, according to court documents in the first quarter of 2025, 25 of 35 reported employees were unlawfully employed by Balgic. In the August 20th raid, law enforcement identified 12 people working at the two restaurants who were working illegally. The workers told authorities, quote, Balgic or his management team on Balgic's behalf would direct all of these individuals hired to his restaurants and to go to specific individuals and businesses to obtain false identification and documents. Following is a photo taken through the glass door at the Branson Landing location of Flaming Margaritas. Has a photo of their Flaming Margarita logo as well as the text of their logo, and it says Samuel Balgic at Flaming Margaritas American Kitchen. Balgic paid workers who were in the country illegally significantly less than he paid other workers, according to the plea agreement. The plea agreement states Balgic will be given consideration in sentencing for admitting his guilt and accepting responsibility, which allows federal prosecutors to not expend resources preparing for a trial. In August, the Daily Citizen spoke to a friend who had lived and worked with Balgic. The story was published August 29th. Jacob Estrada described Balgic as a go-getter who was convinced that if he was successful in business in the United States, he would somehow be allowed to remain in the country. Balgic had come to the United States under a J-1 visa, Estrada said, which allows participants into the United States for educational and cultural exchange programs. Estrada and Balgic met a few years ago as servers at Landry's Seafood House in Branson. Estrada let Balgic live with him in his house in Kimberling City for about 9 months. He was very smart, Estrada said, very genuine, very ambitious. There's a photo here of Jacob Estrada, age 46, as he stands with his hands folded on the very brightly colored railing outside what I'm assuming is his home. Estrada said that while Balgic lived with him, Balgic often watched videos on mixing different drinks and then would make them on his own. He would spend hours making drinks, Estrada said. That was the genesis of the company name Flaming Margaritas. Balgic had seen a video of someone making one. The two restaurants offered Flaming Margaritas. The main financial backers of the first Flaming Margaritas were Balgic's parents in Turkey, Estrada said. Balgic created the Flaming Margaritas LLC in December 2020, according to online records with the Missouri Secretary of State. He would have been 21 years old. Balgic filed paperwork with the state for the second location in October 2023. Estrada said he ministered to Balgic. He took Balgic to the church he attended, and Balgic was baptized there. Quote, he was very impressionable, Estrada says. I tried to lead him in the right direction. But Balgic developed an edge in his pursuit of success, Estrada said. He took on the belief that to be successful in business, you had to do whatever needed to be done.
MSU announces new dean for College of Natural and Applied Sciences. Magdalena Toda of Texas Tech University was chosen from a pool of 47 applicants at a time when MSU seeks to develop new research doctorate programs. Article by Joe Hadsall. We start with a beautiful photo of the Roy Blunt Hall at MSU campus. Wonderful greenery against the gray walls. Missouri State University's new dean overseeing science programs will bring important experiences as new research doctorates are developed. The university on Monday, May 18th, announced that Magdalena Toda has been named the Dean of College of Natural and Applied Sciences, replacing the retiring Tamara Jenke. Toda will start work at the position on July 1st, earning an annual salary of $198,000 a year. Toda was chosen from a nationwide pool of 47 applicants, and the university interviewed 10 semifinalists, then interviewed 3 finalists on campus for more interviews. The hiring comes at an important time for MSU. University advocates, including attorney Tom Strong, had for years pressed for a change to state law that allows MSU to develop PhD programs, and those supporters successfully made their case last year. The expansion of research doctorates is a key part of the university's strategic plan. The expansion and renovation of Blunt Hall positions some of those research doctorates to be in the science programs. Provost Clarenda Phillips said that Toda brings a wealth of related experience to the position. Toda is a professor of mathematics and statistics at Texas Tech University. She has 25 years of experience on all fronts of the research and development. Here we have a nice portrait photo of her with her hair tied back. wearing a very, very stripy shirt, it seems today. Quote, "The ability to offer research doctorates in transformational for Missouri State and Dr. Toda's leadership will be important as we move forward," end quote, Phillips said. Her expertise in mentoring and supporting doctoral students will be a significant asset for the university. Toda's experience includes serving a program director for the department chair in applied mathematics for the National Science Foundation. As chair, she helped increase the department's external funding from about $200,000 to more than $10 million, according to a press release from MSU. Graduate enrollment grew by almost 70%. She also guided revisions for doctoral master's and certificate programs at Texas Tech and founded the Math Postdoctoral Scholarship Program. One of the key advantages to Blunt Hall renovation is how it will be returned multiple science programs under the same roof, increasing interdepartmental communication and collaboration. Toda's talents for such collaboration were profited by Texas Tech in 2024 in a project that used mathematics to connect nutrition and diabetes to Alzheimer's disease. Phillips also pointed out that Toda's dedication to mentorship. Toda said that her vision for leadership includes focusing entirely on the students. Quote, "Everything we do, from scientific to discovery in the laboratory to mathematical research on paper or throughout computer-assisted methods, is ultimately done with students, for students, and through students," end quote, Toda said in the release. Education and mentorship remain at the heart of meaningful research and innovation. Toda was named an Associate for Women in Mathematics Fellow in 2025. She received the President's Award for Excellence in Teaching at Texas Tech in 2008. She has earned doctorates from the University of Kansas and Politehnica University of Bucharest. She also earned a master's in mathematics from the University of Kansas, a master's in health and wellness from the American College of Healthcare and Sciences, and a bachelor's in mathematics from the University of Bucharest. Phillips said Toda's breadth of experience made her the best fit for the position. As dean, Dr. Toda will draw on her history as a faculty member, researcher, and administrator, along with her experience as a National Science Foundation program director, Phillips said. She is ideally suited to lead a college as vibrant, active, and forward-looking as the College of Natural Sciences of Applied Sciences.
And it looks like Bookmarks in downtown Springfield is going to be taking over an adjacent space for a major expansion. Ryan Collins with the Springfield Daily Citizen starts us off with a photo of Bookmarks owner Josh Arnett as he stands inside the original location for the downtown bookstore, which will be expanding next door. We see a shop here with some taupe-colored walls, some very bright red accents, and plenty of books and hardwood to go around. Springfield's downtown bookstore Bookmarks is getting much bigger. Bookmarks, which opened in 2014 and is located at 325 East Walnut, Suite 101, has leased the adjacent downtown storefront and plans to demolish a wall to connect the two properties on the interior, according to a company Facebook post. The plan is to open the expanded space in late summer, owner Josh Arnett said in the post. Quote, "We are taking a sledgehammer to the wall and turning this into a big downtown bookstore so we can double, triple our inventory of books," Arnett said in the post. This year has been a themed expansion for the beloved downtown bookstore, which opened a video rental store within the bookstore in 2026. Leasing the space next door will allow Arnett to expand every aspect of the business. Bookmarks and the video rental business, Mr. Gugorium's Movie Emporium, will remain open throughout building renovations. The following headline reads, "More books, more videos, children's area, and more." There's a photo of an empty space with a lot of boxes and books stacked on it. Looks like this is going to be the former Austin Boutique's space and where they will be adjoining the two. Bookmarks is taking over the adjacent space, 325 East Walnut, Suite 102, which previously housed Austin's Boutique. The boutique for the Bookish closed in April as the owner pursued a teaching career, according to previous Daily Citizen reporting. Taking over the space will allow the company to, quote, "fulfill our ultimate vision for our store," Arnett said in the post. Of course, the expansion means more books. There will be a dedicated book buying station and a children's area with a space for the little ones to explore, according to the Post. The bookstore will be adding an event space for author readings and book clubs dubbed The Footnote. Customers can also look forward to an expanded video rental store, and Arnett has promised to deliver a VHS wall in the expanded space. The property that houses the bookstore, located at 323 to 327 East Walnut Street, is owned by 9 Windows, LLC, and was appraised at $231,100, according to Greene County Assessor's Office records. 9 Windows is registered to Marinell Hopkins of Springfield, according to Missouri Secretary of State records. As the bookstore is known for its feline mascots, Arnett hinted there might be additional furry friends in the store's future. Expanding the business will allow Bookmarks to reach its full potential of, quote, a real family-run bookstore where our kids get to experience growing up surrounded by books and readers, Arnett said in the Post. And the article concludes with a photo of the Bookmarks storefront. And we can see the adjacent space, the unit just east of the original storefront where Austin Boutique used to be located. So that ought to be something fun to look forward to.
I know I'm excited for the furry friends. All right. Springfield launches Hub for Gun Safety and Mental Health Help by Dave Delminley. Springfield residents can now find gun safety information, mental health resources, and youth programming in one place through a new online hub launched by the Community Partnership of the Ozarks, according to community announcement. The nonprofit's Gun Safety and Violence Reduction Initiative has added a dedicated webpage designed to connect residents with educational materials, community services, and upcoming events aimed at reducing firearm-related injuries and deaths in Springfield. Centralized information and local resources. The new page brings together articles, safety tools, and direct links to mental health support, suicide prevention information, and mental health first aid training opportunities. It also provides access to the Locked In Loaded podcast, a Springfield-based podcast offering a street-level perspective on preventing gun violence, according to the announcement. In addition to safety education, the site connects users to broader community support through Prosper Springfield, including resources related to education, health, housing, financial stability, transportation, and personal safety. Youth programs and community engagement. Information about existing gun safety and violence reduction programs is also available on the site. These include the Braid Ballers basketball program, which combines athletics with personal development, and Teen Rise, a youth support program developed by Drew Lewis Foundation that focuses on helping young people set goals based on their values and priorities. A monthly events calendar is expected to be added soon to highlight workshops, activities, and community events connected to the initiative. Expanding access and awareness. Quote, a website focused on gun safety and violence reduction provides greater access for the community to learn about the work we are doing to reduce gun violence, especially with the mental health links available under the resources tab, end quote, said Francine Pratt, Prosper Springfield Director, according to the announcement. We want residents to have an easier access to information, programs, and support services that can make a difference. Residents access the new resource through a Gun Safety and Violence Reduction Initiative link on the Community Partnership of the Ozarks program pages at cpozarks.org. For more information, contact Prosper Springfield at 417-888-2020 or email Pratt at fpratt@cpozarks.org.
And poking around, did you know there's been a data center in Springfield for 23 years? Steve Pokin from the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us the article that starts with a photo of the Springfield Underground entrance. There's a disconnect somewhere. On May 11th, about 800 people squeezed into the auditorium at Marshfield High School to oppose plans for a new data center outside in Webster County, expressing concern that such centers are a danger to the environment and a threat to the community. The people of Webster County also expressed a distrust of the developer, Lumen Solutions, LLC, and the men behind it, Trent Overhue, who in 2025 bought Plaza Towers in Springfield, and Ashton Owens. Following is a photo of the nearly 800 people that packed the auditorium at that meeting. The disconnect, as I see it, is that most people seem unaware that there's been a data center quietly operating here in Springfield for 23 years. It's called the Bluebird Fiber Underground Data Center. You can't see it because it's 85 feet underground at Springfield Underground, where its servers and other equipment are safe from ice storms, lightning strikes, and tornadoes. There's been no controversy involving Bluebird Fiber, no environmental mishaps, no complaints about water use or discharge, at least that I'm aware of. In terms of Bluebird Fiber news, all I've found in archives has been an update every year or so about Bluebird's expansion in space and capacity, as diligently reported by the Springfield Business Journal. If data centers are so harmful, why is the one in Springfield operated so successfully that hardly anyone knows it's here? I think it's because when most people hear data center these days, they think of the gargantuan AI facilities being built across the country. They are described as hyperscale. We'll get to that in a bit. When data storage systems hum, the massive amounts of electricity they consume heats up microchips, which need to be cooled. Bluebird Fiber has a closed-loop water cooling system, which drastically reduces water usage. The data center being constructed in Webster County also will have a closed-loop water cooling system. Before there was a Bluebird Fiber in Springfield Underground, there was SpringNet, a telecommunications system owned and operated by City Utilities, the utility company established by the City of Springfield in 1945. SpringNet changed its name to SpringNet Underground in 2003 when it leased space at Springfield Underground. SpringNet Underground houses computer servers for businesses who either want to move those servers off their business sites or sought a reliable disaster backup for data storage. That's what traditional data centers do. AI data centers generate more heat due to the high-powered computer equipment needed. The following headline reads, maybe Webster County needs a planning and zoning commission? SpringNet Underground grew like gangbusters, leasing more and more space at Springfield Underground. Then City Utilities sold it in 2014 to what was then Bluebird Network for $8.4 million. Why? Quote, the business is doing well, but we don't really have a funding stream to handle those expansions. Scott Miller, then City Utilities General Manager, told the Springfield News-Leader in December 2014. Data center opponents in Webster County are concerned about the future growth of the center under construction there. That seems a legitimate concern based on the growth of Bluebird here in Springfield. It also seems to me that the conundrum in Webster County has a lot to do with the fact that it's a rural area and a lot of people there don't favor much government intervention. The advantage of not having government telling you how to build a barn, for example, can become a disadvantage when the county doesn't even have a planning and zoning commission. Such a body might have been able to put in place regulatory standards for things like data centers. Has the time come for Webster County to have a planning and zoning commission? Let's make some comparisons between Bluebird and the plans for the AI data center in Webster County. First, Bluebird is 85 feet underground, and the Webster County Center is not. I know, call me Captain Obvious. Bluebird has about 80,000 square feet of space, while the proposed Webster County data center will have several small modular buildings totaling about 7,000 square feet. According to a video on the Bluebird website, the company has three 6-megawatt generators made by a company that's part of Rolls-Royce. That's 18 megawatts. So what's a megawatt? It's a unit of power that equates to 1 million watts. When a power source is rated as 1 megawatt, it means it has the capacity to deliver energy at a rate of 1 million joules per second. I know you're thinking, what's a joule? It's the standard international unit used to measure energy, work, and the amount of heat. In other words, the more megawatts, the more energy and the more heat. Also, the more megawatts, the greater the demand on local supplier of electricity to the data center. At the meeting at Marshfield High, Overhue said Lumen's Center will use 10 megawatts of power. The site is adjacent to a Webster Electric cooperative substation, meaning the center will be next to accessible electric infrastructure. Neither of the data centers, the one up and running since 2003 and the other being built, is considered a hyperscale data center. On May 12th, Charlie Keegan, the brother of Daily Citizen managing editor Harrison Keegan, reported for KSHB 41 TV in Kansas City that a Dutch company called Nebius broke ground on a 400-acre site in Independence for what it calls an AI factory. The AI factory will have 4 buildings totaling roughly 2 million square feet. The first building, not including the 3 that will follow, will have approximately 490,000 square feet and is designed for 200 megawatts of computing capacity. That is what you call a hyperscale data center. An Independence councilman told Keegan the data center will generate its own electricity. A company representative said the data center will use a closed-loop water cooling system that uses about as much water per year as a convenience store. Data centers like this are so large that they're believed to create, quote, heat islands. CNN reported in March that according to one study, hyperscale data centers create and vent so much heat they actually raise the temperature of the surrounding area an average of 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Just so you know, I called Bluebird for comment for this column. My open-ended question was about the seeming disconnect that I see. Why the concern about the environmental impact of data centers and the perceived harm to the community when your data center here in Springfield has operated for 23 years without any incidents that we've heard about? An on-site manager at Bluebird told me that I need to go through Bluebird's marketing department. The manager gave me a name and number to call. I called, and as happens so often in my career when dealing with corporate America, I did not hear back from the marketing and/or public relations person. This is Poking Around column number 354.
Christian County residents demand answers as city considers dissolving Clover Police Department. As residents demand to know why Clover is considering a dissolution of its police department, members of the Board of Aldermen hinted at internal issues. Article by Zoe McIntyre. We start with a photo of Clover Police Chief Randy Blackburn and his 3 fellow officers standing at the back of City Hall, with many residents looking quite displeased. Clover residents made it clear that they want the Clover Police Department to continue serving the community at a rowdy town hall meeting on Tuesday, May 19th. The Board of Aldermen is considering a contract with the Christian County Sheriff's Office, which would effectively dissolve the Clover Police Department and replace local police with sheriff deputies. Residents repeatedly demanded to know how the contract would benefit Clover and why the city decided to consider this action. Quote, "We have issues with our own police department," end quote, Estward Alderman Christy Jack said about an hour into the meeting. Quote, "If I was at liberty and not worried about what type of trouble I could get into, I would tell you everything that I could tell you, but I can't, and it's killing me." The contract would expand CCSO's existing partnership with Clover. Christian County Sheriff Brad Cole stated that his deputies currently respond to over 40% of calls in Clover. The Clover Police Department does not operate 24/7. Quote, "You guys should just offload all the reasons." Here we have a picture of Sam Stella expressing his appreciation of Clover Police Departments, followed by audience members applauding. Numerous community members stated that they appreciate the police officers who serve Clover. Residents repeatedly remarked that the department should be offering higher wages and more competitive salary increases to retain officers. "I've lived in Clover long enough to remember Orville Choate as a police officer," said Stamsella. "I remember Danny and Terry, and I remember Hammer. Nothing against the sheriff deputies, but that's the type of relationship we get to have with the cops." Mitchell Weber said that rather than looking up to the superheroes, his 3 children idolize the police officers they interact with in Clover. "I am so desperately upset that this fire was lit without any kind of warning," Weber said, "and to come here and not, you guys should just offload all the reasons, all the statistics of why this is happening and why this is being considered, because presence is proactive." Here we have Clover Mayor Eric Budoin responding to residents' questions at a town hall meeting, looking a little hot on their collar. He is very flushed and very nervous looking. Several residents questioned why the Clover Police Department with 6 personnel is not staffed around the clock. "Our chief does not currently patrol as much as we would like," said Mayor Eric Budoin. "I've got some restrictions on this," responded Police Chief Randy Blackburn. He declined to elaborate during the meeting. Budoin stated that contracting with CCSO would cost Clover just under $700,000 a year. The Clover Police Department is currently budgeting at $734,000 yearly. However, the mayor did not cite budget constraints as a motivation for the change. "I feel that some of this has been to try to run me off," Blackburn told the Daily Citizen on May 20th. Quote, "I strongly appreciate the turnout that we had last night and the positive comments made by the community to the officers," end quote. Although the Clever community is highly supportive of its police department, he stated that the Board of Aldermen has shown that they're not supportive of us by considering a contract that would dissolve the department. Quote, I have gotten the feeling that City Council doesn't want me here, and I feel that some of this has been to try and run me off, end quote, Blackburn said. He added that there are some things he can't talk about. Blackburn has said 40 years of law enforcement experience, although this is his first time he has been a police chief. He was appointed to serve as the Clever's chief of police after former chief Michael Evans went to jail for an alleged incident of domestic assault in November of 2024. I'm learning each day a new way of doing something, and it's a big step, Blackburn said. The Board of Aldermen has been restricting the chief from making purchases with the police department's budget for about 4 months, Blackburn claimed. He said he now needs permission for routine purchases like new tires or oil changes on the patrol cars. I think it's felt that I was doing some unnecessary spending on things that they didn't feel like we needed. I really can't comment on some other reasons, Blackburn stated. The chief responded to a few of the points residents raised during the town hall meeting. When it comes to salaries, Blackburn said Clever residents are correct that their police officers should be paid more. Starting wages need to be raised from $20 to about $23 or $25 an hour to compete with nearby agencies, he said. As for patrolling, the chief said he isn't on the road as much as he would like because he also needs to manage administrative talks and staff the police department. The Board of Aldermen wants police station to be staffed 5 days a week, he stated. What would a contract mean for Clever law enforcement? If Clever enters a contract with CCSO, the Clever Police Department's building would still be owned by the city, but it would become an outpost for the sheriff's office. Cole said there would be at least one deputy stationed in Clever at all times. A lieutenant with the sheriff's office would supervise all law enforcement in Clever, and they would provide 24/7 response and operate similarly to a police department, Cole said. In response to some residents' questions about emergency response times, Cole shared statistics from Christian County's 911 dispatch center. Last month, the average response time from CCSO for calls in Clever was about 9 minutes and 9 seconds, while the Clever Police Department averaged 7 minutes and 47 seconds. Quote, if we have a dedicated officer within the city, I expect response times to be much lower, the sheriff said. Clever voters may take up the matter. Budwine said community members raised a lot of valid points during the meeting. Quote, we will not enter into a discussion without thoroughly exhausting every one of these things that have been brought up tonight, end quote. In response to several residents demanding for a vote on the matter, Budwine indicated that the city may consider putting the contract on a future ballot. May 26th is the final certification deadline for matters that will appear on the ballot in the August 4th primary election.
And we are currently broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store, a spacious 17,000 square foot thrift store located in Springfield, Missouri. It holds the distinction of being the first retail store worldwide to incorporate NaviLens technology, which significantly enhances accessibility for the blind, visually impaired, and non-English speaking individuals. This innovative system enables customers to navigate and shop with minimal assistance, fostering independence and confidence. The store operates as a nonprofit organization dedicated to generating funds that support the provision of adaptive technology and training for the blind and visually impaired community, often at little to no cost. Visitors can learn more about the organization and access its services by visiting the store in person at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri, or by exploring the website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The website offers comprehensive information about the store's mission, services, and opportunities for community involvement, as well as details about the free store available to residents in the Springfield area. And the Republic Library is hosting a ribbon cutting and summer reading kickoff. Dave DeMille with Springfield News-Leader says that the Springfield Greene County Library District will celebrate the opening of its new Republic Branch Library with a public ribbon cutting ceremony and day-long events on June 1st, according to a community announcement. The ceremony is scheduled for 11:30 a.m. at 921 North Lindsay Avenue in Republic and will also mark the official launch of the library system's summer reading program across all branches. This year's program theme is, quote, Unearth a Story. The Republic event will begin at 10 a.m. with live music from local musicians Mark Crabtree and Dan Lockmiller, followed by a makerspace demonstration at 10:30 a.m. Additional activities throughout the day include food, performances, and historical programming. Following the ribbon cutting, hot dogs will be served at noon with sponsorship attributed in the announcement. At 1 p.m., members of the Republic Historical Society will present a program on the city's history. A second makerspace demonstration is planned for 2 p.m. Live entertainment continues later in the afternoon with a 3:30 p.m. performance by Alina Celeste and Mi Amigo Hamlet, followed by ice cream on the patio at 4:30 p.m., according to the announcement. Scavenger hunts and other self-guided activities will be available throughout the day in the library's Youth Services Department. Republic Branch Manager Library Manager Tisha Shea said the district chose to align the grand opening celebration with the start of summer programming. Quote, "We're thrilled to launch our summer reading program alongside the ribbon cutting for our new facility," Shea said in the announcement. She added that community response since the branch began operating earlier this year has been strong and encouraged residents to explore the new space. The Springfield Greene County Library District operates 10 branches serving Greene County, Missouri. More information is available at thelibrary.org. Community Relations Director Vicki Hicks can be reached at 417-616-0564 or VICKIEH@thelibrary.org.
Springfield breweries embrace lager beer's evolving popularity. As consumers' tastes change, many drinkers are looking for a lower alcohol, crispier beer. By Jeff Kessinger. We start off with a picture of a bunch of locals enjoying a time and a drink at Tie and Timber Beer Co. in the Roundtree area. It seems to be an annual refrain in the American craft beer world. This is going to be the year of lager beer. Drinkers are hearing the same thing in 2026. Is it true in Springfield? Yes, maybe. Beer drinkers' tastes are continually evolving and changing, says Brad Allen, Director of Brewery Distillery Operations for Springfield Brewing Company. And Ty Ickard, the distillery, said, "I think a few years ago, maybe several years ago, higher alcohol beers were more popular than they are now. I think non-alcoholic and low-alcohol beers are definitely having a moment, and as a whole, lager beer is historically a little more modest in the alcohol level. We've seen that our consumers, and whether or not they follow us or we followed them, is kind of hard to say. We've always been proud of and interested in making lager beer. Whether you're already a lager lover or just lager curious, there are plenty of options served up in Springfield's craft breweries." What exactly is a lager? Lagers are bottom fermented using a special yeast. Let's see. Saccharomyces pasteurinalis that thrives at lower temperatures than ale yeast between about 45 to 55 degrees. Like to see someone say that 3 times fast. Lagering is a slower and calmer process, so the yeast sinks to the bottom of the brewing vessel. We're fortunate enough to be able to give the beer the time it needs, Allen said at 417 Lager is probably a 35-day beer from start to finish, whereas Double Track Doppelbock is probably more like 60 days, just to let that cold conditioning and lagering get the beer to its right point. The prolonged fermentation of lagers also results in fewer byproducts, leading to drinkers perceiving them as crispier than ales. The thing about lager beer is that it's clean, Allen said. There isn't really a lot of fruity esters or anything, so if you're getting a real character of the malt and the hops. Here we have a delicious looking photo of a Plebano Pils, which won a gold medal in the inaugural Missouri Beer Cup in the herb spice chili beer category. Pilsners in all varieties are an example of lagers. Love a good Pilsner, then you'll love a lager. Pilsners come in many varieties, Czech, German, Italian, and even Australian, and they're a favorite of Allen's. Personally, I think Czech Pilsners, and Pilsners in general, is a really fabulous thing to drink, he said. It's got malt character, and it's got hops, and it's not overly crazy. Allen has good news for fans of Brewco's former 11-point Pilsner. That brew will return during the transition from fall to summer. The restaurants have been offering a rotating Pilsner for a couple of years now, he said. We have some side pull faucets and a Japanese pour faucet now, which we're kind of playing with to create different mouthfeels and foam qualities. You can pour the same beer in 2 different ways to heighten the malt or the hop character. Mother's Brewing Company currently has a Plan B, a West Coast Pilsner, available in its tap room, while Tie and Timber Beer Co. offers its Slow Drift Pilsner, and Wire Road Brewing is serving the Hoppet. Holdfast Brewing has 2 seasonal Pilsners, including a Power Play Pilsner. Its Poblano Pilsner, which arrives this time for Cinco de Mayo, earned a gold medal in the Herb, Spice, and Chili Beer category at the 2025 Missouri Beer Cup. Brewco's flagship lager started as a special collaboration, and here we have Springfield Brewery Company's beers available for takeaway sales, 1 to 5 tap room in Rogersville, and it looks like the fridge is fully stocked. And then there are American Pilsners and pre-prohibition lagers, which are essentially the same thing. One Springfield beer in that style is Brewco's 417 Lager. That actually grew out of our collaboration that we did in 2019 with the Dingledon family, who owned the original Springfield Brewing Company, just down the road from us. Alan said, we used a fair amount of corn in it to get that sort of American lager character, but maybe with a little bit more hops. That beer resonated with drinkers and is now a flagship brew for the community's longest-running craft brewery. It's made with Hallerton Mittelfrüh, a German hop, and Augustner lager yeast. I did take German, I might add. In many ways, it seemed to speak to a lot of the opportunities for beer drinking in the Ozarks, Alan said. It's kind of a mild, yet with a higher hop level. There's still definitely some flavor there, but a modest alcohol level and light body. Lager is a great vehicle for malt. Here we have a picture of the Mayhem Marzen, an Oktoberfest lager from Springfield Brewing Company. Don't be fooled into thinking that lagers are all pale straw to golden yellow in color. There are several darker varieties of lager, offering completely different flavors, often consumed later in the year. The big macro breweries have done a really good job of marketing what lager is. It's a great vehicle for a malt, Alan said. Alan said those malts are on display in beer styles like the Marzens and the Doppelbocks, and if you can find them in Springfield, Strasbourgs. Mayhem Marzen is our Oktoberfest and has toasted and caramel malts in there that create a medium body with a little bit of sweetness, he said. The Doppelbock sort of accelerates that. Again, you've got some caramel, but you also got some chocolate and other malts that give you the stewed fruit, rich coffee, candy kind of character that, combined with a higher alcohol in a beer like that, creates some really interesting flavors. Brewco's Mayhem Marzen has won gold and silver medals for the Great American Beer Festival. World Beer Cup and Missouri Beer Cup Double Track, meanwhile, claimed a bronze medal from the GABF. Mexican-style lagers and dark lagers are also incredibly popular. Think Negro Modelo or Don Equis. Springfield Brewing Company brews its Oscura dark lager in the winter and early spring, while Mother's Brewing Company offers Madres Mexican Lager, and 4x4 Brewing servers its Purchase Mexican Lager year-round. The Garcia at Tie and Timber Beer Co. is another popular opinion. It has family connections to Jen Leonard, Tie and Timber's co-owner and executive brewer. I named it after my grandfather, who introduced me to beer at a very, very young age, Leonard told the Daily Citizen in 2022, and it broke the record as our fastest-selling beer.
And it looks like a cold case of a 14-year-old's death is being reopened in Berry County, Missouri. Marta Mees with the Springfield News-Leader reports that a cold case related to the 1999 death of a 14-year-old boy in Berry County is being reopened after 2 decades. With several recent credible leads, state and county law enforcement are trying to find out exactly what happened. The suspicious death of Justin Hokut of Seligman was initially investigated in 1999. Now, the Berry County Sheriff's Office has requested Missouri State Highway Patrol's assistance in the investigation and has resubmitted evidence for additional testing through the MSHP Crime Laboratory, according to an MSHP news release. Berry County Sheriff Danny Boyd could not be reached for additional comment by publication deadline. So what happened to Justin Hokut? Well, Hokut was last seen alive during the morning hours of October 8, 1999. Roughly 22 hours later, his body was found on train tracks near his home. Following is a newspaper headline, and looks like a cutout of the article here. The headline reads, "Teen's Death Probed as Homicide." According to News-Leader archives, authorities at the time believed Hokut was hit by a train after either being knocked unconscious or killed and laid on the tracks. While initially the death was seen as an accident, investigators soon reviewed the case as a homicide. News-Leader articles noted investigators said the position of the body was consistent with someone being placed on tracks, not jumping in front of a train, and witnesses' statements did not match the physical evidence. According to early reports, more than one person was suspected to be involved. During the initial investigation, 3 men had been charged with hindering prosecution in the investigation for instructing to lie or actively hiding a female juvenile sought by investigators as a material witness. According to News-Leader archives, Hokut's girlfriend had been sought, though not as a suspect, after she had left Seligman for Arkansas. Hokut had been with his girlfriend the morning before his death. Throughout the investigation, several suspects were interviewed and some were administered lie detector tests, but suspicions never led to charges being filed in court. After the investigation failed to result in any meaningful answers, Justin Hokut's father, Tim Hokut, was arrested and faced assault charges for firing a gun at people he suspected of his son's death. Over the past 2 decades, Justin Hokut's death has remained a cold case. With tips and leads passed along to law enforcement in recent years, MSHP and the Berry County Sheriff's Office are renewing efforts to find answers. Hokut was 14 years old at the time of his death, and there is substantial evidence and/or circumstances regarding this case which make it suspicious in nature, MSHP Sergeant Bradley German said in the release. This was likely not an accident, and we ask those individuals who know more about the incident to contact investigators. The Hokut family deserves to know what happened to their child. I believe this case can be solved with the help from the community. Anyone who may have knowledge about the case should contact MSHP Sergeant John Mason at 417-536-9405 or Berry County Sheriff's Office at 417-847-6556. And in additional crime news, Poland is working to extradite a Christian County inmate arrested in a $30 million fraud scheme. Zoe McIntyre with the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us the story that reads, the country of Poland is attempting to extradite a man who was booked into the Christian County Jail on Tuesday, May 19th. Marcin Pioro, 45, is accused of defrauding more than 2,000 people out of approximately $30 million while he served on the management board of a currency exchange website that operated within Polish jurisdiction. Christian County Sheriff Brad Cole said the U.S. Marshals Service arrested Piorio at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri on an Interpol warrant. The Christian County Jail houses some federal inmates. Piorio joined the U.S. Army to receive naturalization sponsorship, according to a news release from the U.S. Marshals Service. U.S. Marshals Service's deputies in the Western District of Missouri worked with the FBI and other federal entities to arrest Piorio. Our deputies and support staff have tirelessly collaborated to locate and apprehend Piorio. Today's arrest was a strong symbolic gesture of this commitment, Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal Chris Deaton said in the news release. Polish authorities say Piorio held leadership positions within 2 subsidiaries of Konataxia Holding Capital Group between 2010 and 2024. Konataxia, which operated as a domestic payment institution, and Sinkiars.pl, an online currency exchange website. Following is apparently a booking photo from the Christian County Jail. The man is in his inmate's uniform and looking none too pleased, but he's standing in front of some mini blinds, so it's a little bit confusing. Court documents say authorities began investigating the company's financial activity in 2024 after receiving approximately 7,000 complaints from the public. Investigators found that Sinkiars.pl regularly used customer funds for unlawful purposes beginning as early as 2020 when the company began operating at a loss, according to federal court documents. The alleged scheme involved transferring money from customers' digital currency wallets to Konataxia Holding, which distributed the money to its other subsidiaries and used it to finance the development of entities in Cyprus and the U.S. A chief accountant for Sinkiars.pl allegedly told Polish authorities that Piorio freely used customer funds for his own private expenses and used company credit cards to pay for items including luxury clothing and cosmetics. The U.S. government is requesting that Piorio be held without bond while the case moves forward. He fled Poland in October 2024, and witnesses informed Polish authorities that he left for fear of being detained by police, court documents state. Genevieve, are you ready?
I am.
We have Genevieve taking over for Madeline this morning. Welcome, Genevieve.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Missouri lawmakers approve armed Missouri Rangers for school, an article by Annalise Hanshaw of the Missouri Independent. A bill to create a new faction of school protection officers with physical fitness superior to a U.S. Marine got final approval from Missouri lawmakers in the final days of the legislative session. The legislation seeks to allow schools to hire volunteer or paid guards called Missouri Rangers, who could carry a gun on school grounds. The bill sponsor, Republican State Senator David Gregory of Chesterfield, told senators he wanted to give schools a choice to have a higher trained armed guard. He compared current protection officer requirements to that of a Walmart guard with a gun. Currently, schools can appoint teachers and administrators as school protection officers, allowing them to carry a gun or self-defense spray device, with training and a concealed carry permit. There is a picture of Senator David Gregory, the Chesterfield Republican, in a suit, smiling in what appears to be a conference. School protection officers must undergo a minimum of 112 hours of training, according to a Department of Public Safety rule. The state also has school resource officers, which are law enforcement officers with an additional 40 hours of training related to school safety. Gregory's legislation proposes a maximum of 160 hours of training, specifying that the program must include lessons on, quote, close quarter combat, end quote, bomb and arson training, and de-escalation, among others. Prior to training, Rangers must pass a physical fitness test. For those 35 and younger, they must, quote, complete a minimum of 40 push-ups in less than 1 minute, end quote, to be able to run 1.5 miles in less than 12 minutes and in less than 12.5 minutes. The legislation asks the state's Peace Office Standards and Training Commission to identify lower standards for older applicants. The bill's first pass through the Senate brought little opposition, garnering the support of groups like the St. Louis County Police Association in its first committee hearing. In early April, just 2 senators voted against the proposal, but Senate Democrats unanimously voted against it when it returned to the chamber last week, with less than a day before session adjourned for the year. House Democrats unanimously rejected the proposal, uncomfortable with the proposition of having more firearms in schools. Quote, "The answer to guns in schools is not more guns in schools," end quote, said State Representative Elizabeth Fuchs, a St. Louis Democrat, advocating instead for mental health support for students. Their arguments did not sway House Republicans, who unanimously voted in support of the bill. State Representative Burt Whaley, a Republican from Clever, has experience training school staff on what to do in case of a shooting. The key benefit of having a ranger, he said, was being able to quickly respond to threats. In one school he trained, the local law enforcement estimated that it could take up to 45 minutes for them to arrive. Quote, "It is typically another person with a gun that knows how to use it, that's trained how to use it. They're usually the ones that are able to subdue a threat," end quote. The bill follows other proposals passed last year addressing security concerns, like laws directing schools to share emergency operation plans with local law enforcement and report school safety incidents to the state's education department. Some of the provisions passed in last year's legislation have yet to be implemented because of a lack of funding, such as a requirement to equip schools with bleeding control kits and train staff on how to apply a tourniquet. Governor Mike Kehoe has until mid-July to sign or veto bills before they become law.
And from the Springfield News-Leader, we have a couple of obituaries this week. First up, Wayne Price, age 60, passed away May 13th, 2026. Arrangements are provided by Fraker Funeral Home, Incorporated. Services will be held on May 30th at 10 a.m. at Fraker Funeral Home in Marshfield. Shirley Lee Daniel, age 91, of Ash Grove, passed away on Sunday, May 17th, 2026. She was born on April 25th, 1935 in Ash Grove, Missouri, to Homer and Ruth Fortner. Shirley was a lifelong area resident. She was a faithful member of First Baptist Church. Shirley shared her passion and talent of music with the church, playing the piano and organ for over 62 years. She also played for many quartets and other musicians around the area. Shirley will be greatly missed by all those who knew and loved her. She is survived by her daughter, Teresa Crawford, and husband, Arthur. Grandsons, Jonathan Miller and wife, Andrea, Stephen Miller and wife, Katie, Aaron Miller and wife, Ashley. Step-grandchildren, Jason Crawford and wife, Michelle, Nikki Medley and husband Justin. 9 great-grandchildren, 2 step-great-grandchildren, other family, and friends. Shirley was preceded in death by her parents, Homer and Ruth Fortner, siblings, Jimmy Ted Fortner, and Helen Grant. Visitation services took place yesterday at Ash Grove First Baptist Church, and in lieu of flowers, memorial donations can be made to the Alzheimer's Association for research and may be left with the funeral home, and the arrangements are under the direction of Wilson Griffin Funeral Home. Our condolences to their family and friends.
Things to do this week in Springfield, Missouri by Taryn Shore McKee. There is a picture of some young boys at what appear to be either a livestock auction or rodeo. On Memorial Day weekend, the soft launch of summer. Grills come out from undercovers, lake traffic triples, almost overnight, and everyone's trying to squeeze every possible second out of the long weekend. That shift shows up around town too, with outdoor movie nights kicking off for the season and rodeos returning to the calendar, because nothing says summer quite like funnel cake, dirt flying, and giant buckle belts. This week's event lineup leans appropriately fun and low pressure. You'll find stand-up comedy from a comedian with a massive social media following, a hands-on foraging class at Finley Farms, and the Cardinals' only Monday home game of the year on Memorial Day itself. And movies in the park, one of the best deals around, super affordable, often free, outside, and an easy win, whether it's date night, family night, or just an excuse to get out of the house. As for me, I'm traveling again in Big Bend National Park, Texas, or possibly in El Paso, eating all the spicy Mexican food I can stand. Cheers and safe travels, friends. On Friday, May 22nd, the options are Foraging with Wild Food by Dylan at Finley Farms for ages 16 and up for $25 each from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Dylan of Wild Foods by Dylan will guide participants on a foraging journey across Finley Farms. You'll learn valuable information about berries, greens, herbs, and yes, mushrooms, both how to identify and how to use them. Though they can be enjoyed individually, this event is a precursor to Forage Dinner on the Farm the following week. Save the date. The next event is Candlelight, Coldplay, and Imagine Dragons at Stone Chapel at Drury University. The cost ranges between $33.50 to $66 and is at 8:45 p.m. Enjoy the show as Listesso String Quartet plays favorites from Coldplay like Clocks and The Scientist, and Imagine Dragons' Believer and Radioactive. The unique experience combines candlelight glow and the beauty of a Victorian Gothic chapel. Next is the Route 66 Pro Rodeo. Route 66 Fairgrounds and Event Center in Joplin. Prices range from $13 to $51 and gates open at 6 p.m. Joplin goes big for Memorial Day with 2 days of thrilling pro rodeo events and so much more. Attendees will also be treated to a full lineup of live music, post-rodeo fireworks, and lots of family fun. And it's cheaper in advance online. Next is the Mid-American Street Rod Nationals at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds. Prices are $20 for adults, $6 for children, ages 6 to 12, and 5 and under are free. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Sunday. See some of the most impressive hot rods and street rods in the country, all in one place. This promises to be a weekend full of cruising, automotive vendors, a swap meet, the Miss Mid-American Pinup Contest, live entertainment, and even a kids section. Next is Ginger Billy at the Springfield Comedy Club from 7 and 9:45 p.m. on Friday, and at 6 and 8:45 p.m. on Saturday, and at 6 p.m. on Sunday. With a distinct comedy style that blends sketches, musical parodies, and redneck satire, a Ginger Billy show promises a little something for everyone and a lot of laughs. Up next, Ginger Billy has a voiceover role in Ryan Reynolds' 2027 animated feature, Animal Friends. On Saturday, May 23rd, the options are Wilson's Creek National Battlefield Artillery Program at Wilson's Creek National Battlefield. The event is free and begins at 11 a.m. This free educational event invites the public to witness the loading and firing of a cannon, learning about their history and roles associated with it. May 23rd kicks off the reoccurring seasonal event every other Saturday through the summer. Head to Stop 5 on the Battlefield Tour. Next is Movies in the Park, Wicked for Good at Jordan Valley Park. The event is free and begins at dusk. Head downtown for a free outdoor screening of Wicked for Good. Pack a chair or blanket to sit on and snag your spot before the movie starts at dusk. Want to plan ahead? You can also see Zootopia 2 on June 13th at Nathaniel Green and Close Memorial Park, and Goat on July 11th at Silver Spring Park. On Sunday, May 24th, Brantley Gilbert and Aaron Lewis and the Stateliners will be at the Black Oak Amphitheater. Prices range between $32.75 and $108.50. The doors open at 5:30 p.m. and the event begins at 7. Country rock crossover Brantley Gilbert and Aaron Lewis, best known for fronting the 90s band Stained, joined by his band, the Stateliners, headline this Memorial Day weekend show with opener Peyton Smith. On Monday, May 25th, the Springfield Cardinals Memorial Baseball game takes place at the Route 66 Stadium. Prices range from $11 to $70, and the event begins at 4:35 p.m. Celebrate Memorial Day in a truly American way at an afternoon ball game and the only Monday game of the entire season. Cheer on our Cards as they take on the Wichita Wind Surge. Finally, on Tuesday, May 27th, there is Agave Night tequila tasting at Show Me Choi for $40. The event begins at 6 p.m. If you haven't checked out Show Me Choi yet, it's been open just over a year. Here's the perfect excuse. Sample a variety of tequilas paired perfectly with Chef Choi's delicious Mexican creations. RSVP by calling 417-771-5357.
And a Mercy program is changing how opioid addiction is handled in the rural Ozarks. Susan Schuch with the Springfield News-Leader says that the first 72 hours after opioid withdrawal is the most crucial and dangerous time frame for someone dealing with substance use disorder. If you can make it through the first 72 hours, your likelihood to make it through withdrawal is so much higher, said Jen Spear, Executive Director of Operations for Mercy Hospital Lebanon. Hearing that, I was like, oh my gosh, we have to prioritize 72 hours. Opioids cause physical dependence, and withdrawal can be uncomfortable and even life-threatening in some cases. It can start with sweating, insomnia, muscle aches, and agitation. Then it can progress to abdominal cramping, nausea, diarrhea, and an abnormally fast resting heart rate or a dangerously high body temperature. In a rural community, appointments to address addiction may be days or weeks away, and few pharmacies are open 24/7. Without adequate access to support, quote, it's really easy to go back into doing drugs, not because you want to, but because you don't have what you need to be successful, Spear said. Mercy Hospital Lebanon is piloting a program that aims to help rural Ozarks patients get the help they need in that important time frame, which is now at nearby communities including Aurora, Cassville, Carthage, and Mountain Home. Funded by the Health Resources and Services Administration, the program has been so successful that Spear and colleagues presented it in Washington, D.C., and are looking for how to grow the program in the future. Generally, when patients come to the emergency departments in withdrawal or after an overdose, providers address their immediate medical needs before discharging them and referring them to a psychiatrist. However, in rural towns like Lebanon, it could be days or weeks before they're able to get an appointment, and the first 72 hours can make or break a person's attempt to stop using that substance. Spear, who grew up in Lebanon, is leading the program. Patients who come into the hospital's ED with an opioid overdose or withdrawal receive a free medication-assisted treatment pack, which contains 3 days of medication used to manage opioid withdrawal symptoms and to treat opioid use disorder. That's buprenorphine that they prescribe. A medication to manage the nausea from withdrawal, that's Zofran, and an opioid overdose medication, Narcan. Following is a photo of Jen Spear, the Executive Director of Operations at Mercy Hospital Lebanon, wearing a brightly colored pink jacket and a smile. At the same time, patients are scheduled for an appointment with Mercy's Virtual Substance Use Recovery Program, or VSURP, no more than 72 hours later. In addition to addressing the fact that providers who specialize in substance use may not be physically present in a rural area, virtual visits also guarantee a level of confidentiality otherwise difficult to find in small towns. Through being able to do this virtually, it really is anonymous, Spear said. They don't have to leave work to go to an appointment. They can step away for 30 minutes and do that appointment virtually, and nobody has to know about that. Many of the overdoses or withdrawals the EDCs are on Friday nights, Spear said, meaning that in smaller rural Ozarks towns, patients may not be able to get medication that helps them through the withdrawal until Monday when local pharmacies open. Lebanon is a small town and there are gaps, but there are smaller towns that feed into Lebanon, said Jen Spear, Executive Director of Operations at Mercy Hospital Lebanon, who also grew up in that town. If our gap is already a big deal, then you can only imagine when you get 45 minutes from Lebanon and there isn't a pharmacy in the town or there's not anything in those spaces. The program relies not only on providing life-saving medications to those experiencing withdrawal, but also presents a roadmap to people who are working toward recovery. Traditionally, when people come into Mercy and receive a cancer diagnosis, Spear said, providers will give them paperwork that outlines what treatment will look like, what medications they'll most likely take, what they're likely going to experience, what their family will go through. Previously, when you came into our ED, sometimes we didn't have a great solution for you. If you were seeking help for substance use, Spear said. So we're really changing that model to say addiction is a disease, and we need to be able to walk you through that every step of the way. The expansion was funded in part by a $300,000 grant through the Health Resources and Services Administration. That grant also helps pay for medication and virtual care carts at each facility, as well as training ED providers in compassionate, unbiased care and education of the medications used. While the grant kicked off the program's expansion, Spear feels that progress is allowing them to build a sustainable program, which will continue even after the funding is gone. We've been able to build a system that lasts. While when we look at our dollars, really, the grant has allowed for the education piece, for the physical medication piece, being able to provide that to patients at no cost, which is huge, Spear said, adding that once patients are engaged, Mercy navigators can help them get set up with Medicaid or other insurance, which reduces the cost that the hospital system has to cover. In planning the grant, Spear and her team set the goal of seeing 100 patients during the whole year. Since the program's launch in October 2025, the program has seen 109 referrals across 5 hospitals and 35 patients actively engaged in recovery, far exceeding expectations. Previously, VSURP in Southwest Missouri only had 10 referrals over several years, according to a press release. VSURP has existed within the Mercy system for a while, but the grant funding allows the Ozarks to focus on substance use. When you look at this work that is being done, anything above 15% engagement is incredible. So we're seeing 32% engagement, said Spear, who attributes the success to 100% to the program's commitment to seeing patients within 72 hours. Spear and her team presented their work in D.C. in March, she said, which brought together 41 grantees who took part in HRSA's Rural Community Opioid Response Program. Mercy Hospital Lebanon was one of 10 grantees that presented its program in an innovation tank, where attendees voted on the most innovative, creative, and impactful programs. Mercy's VSURP opioid treatment program took third place in the event. What we're doing, there's not a lot of people doing this work in the hospital setting, Spear said. It was just very humbling to be able to share that what we're doing is not only making an impact here, but it's also making an impact nationally. The number of people engaged in the program highlights the desperate need for substance use treatment in Southwest Missouri. In the future, Spear hopes to expand the program beyond opioids, addressing new substances like kratom as well as alcohol dependence. Even as we were launching this grant, there were new things coming on the market that the VSURP team was seeing. They are the expert in that, and they can keep the hospitals educated on what are the things that are going to be walking into your ED. How do we need to treat those patients? Spear said, "It's how do we continue to lock arms with our VSURP team, our experts, and how do we continue to make sure our frontline teams are educated on the things that are going to be walking through the door."
More than 285 workers were locked out of a West Plains defense tech plant by Marta Mies of the Springfield News-Leader. Since the beginning of May, more than 285 workers in West Plains have been locked out of work at Leonardo DRS. Leonardo DRS, a defense technology manufacturer, operates a 100-acre heavy equipment manufacturing facility in West Plains. Workers represented by the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, IAM, Local 2782, were locked out by the company May 1st, according to an IAM news release. After rejecting a company proposal, the proposal, per the union, failed to deliver fair wage increases and, quote, forced unsustainable increase in healthcare cost, end quote. Members had also voted to authorize a strike if a fair contract was not agreed to. There is a picture of multiple individuals standing outside of the facility with signs that say that they were locked out. They appear to be striking union workers. Workers in West Plains, represented by IAM Local 2782, were locked out by Leonardo DRS May 1st, 2026, after rejecting the company's proposal during negotiations. IAM District 9 Business Representative B.J. Ware said in a written statement, "A person working to support a family of 4 in Howell County would need more than $41 an hour to cover rent, groceries, childcare, and commuting. Currently, the workers in West Plains make $23 an hour. Quote, I want people to understand that what this lockout is really about, end quote, Ware said. Quote, even if you leave out healthcare, you still need $32 an hour just to keep the lights on and food on the table. The company chose to lock out our members rather than closing that gap. IAM members at Leonardo DRS build systems that protect American soldiers overseas and keep our nation safe, and they can't afford to take care of their own families. That's wrong, and Leonardo DRS knows it. They need to do right by us, end quote. The union is calling on the company to end the lockout and return to good faith negotiations. According to the release, workers are asking the company's wages to keep pace with the cost of living and provide health care they can afford. Carrie Robinson, Leonardo DRS's Vice President of Marketing and Corporate Communications, said in an email statement that the IAM union notified the company April 30th that they would not ratify the proposal and voted to strike effective midnight April 30th. Quote, We respect the rights of employees under the collective bargaining process and remain committed to continued discussions and negotiations in good faith. We believe an agreement can be reached at the bargaining table, and our focus remains on finding common ground for our union workforce and the company, end quote. The statement noted, quote, "We remain focused on maintaining operational continuity in support of our U.S. and allied armed forces, customer commitments, and reaching a new, ratified contract with our union workforce as soon as possible," end quote. With the workers contributing to the creation of defense systems and battlefield equipment that supports American troops, IAM is calling on Leonardo DRS to support the workers that make commitment to America's military possible. Quote, "While Leonardo DRS tells the Pentagon it's committed to supporting American warfighters, it's locking out the very workers who make that commitment real," end quote. IAM International President Brian Bryant said, quote, "That is not just hypocrisy, it is bad faith at the bargaining table, and it will not stand," end quote.
We are currently broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store situated at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. For additional information about our store, please visit our official website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. To explore more of our video content, including movie reviews with Matt and Meredith, adaptive technology training videos, and other informative material, please visit our YouTube channel by searching for Blind Community Thrift Store. Our organization is dedicated to supporting the blind community through various initiatives, and our online platforms serve as valuable resources for community engagement and education. And a trial date has been set for an Ozark man accused of killing his mom with a gardening tool. Zoe McIntyre from the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this story that says an Ozark man accused of killing his mom with a gardening tool is now scheduled to have his trial in May 2027. A grand jury indicted Derek Alling on charges of first-degree murder and armed criminal action on March 2nd. Christian County Sheriff's deputies responded to a call for a well-being check at a private residence on September 25th, 2025, and discovered the victim lying against a wall with blankets covering her body, according to a probable cause statement. Nearby, they observed a, quote, long-handled gardening or scraping tool that appeared bloody. Alling was at the residence and spoke to deputies, indicating that he believed the victim was dead, according to the statement. Sheriff Brad Cole confirmed the victim was Alling's mother, Carolyn Alicia Ailing. Prosecuting attorney Kristen Toohey wrote that Derek Alling was believed to be an heir to the victim's trust and had been threatening the victim and demanding his inheritance. Quote, per the victim's husband, the victim had been recording defendant acting aggressively and violently toward her within weeks of her murder, Toohey wrote. Alicia Ailing, age 65, was a dental hygienist who loved nature, animals, and homemaking, according to an online obituary. She was a mother of 4 and had 9 grandchildren. Derek Ailing appeared in person before Judge Jessica Cruz on Wednesday, May 20th. His week-long trial is set to begin on May 17th, 2027. The estate of Alicia Ailing is currently in Christian County's probate court. A petition filed by the estate's representative states that, quote, although respondent Derek Brighton Ailing claims some interest or ownership of the assets, his claim is invalid because he murdered the decedent. Derek Ailing wrote a letter to the court on December 1st, 2025, asking it to postpone the petition until his, quote, active and ongoing self-defense case is resolved. The entire value estate is estimated to be over $300,000, according to court documents. Ailing previously indicated that he wanted to fire his defense or defend himself, although on May 20th he stated that he wanted to retain his legal counsel, public defender Carol Palmer. His legal counsel discouraged him from giving his testimony during any hearings, he stated in a March 24, 2025 letter to Associate Circuit Judge Doug Bacon. Quote, this tells me that they want to give a very narrow and controlled version of my story, he wrote.
MSHSAA Golf, how Trenton King lifted Springfield's Gloria Deo Academy to first state title in school history, by Ryan Collingwood. There is a picture of 6 young men that are on a golf field with a pond in the background wearing the Gloria Deo Academy golf uniform. 12 years of Trenton King's life were largely spent at Gloria Deo Academy, a Springfield-based Christian school that's relatively new to the Missouri State High School Activities Association. 2 weeks after receiving his diploma, King's time at GDA ended with a historic distinction, the Lions' first MSHSAA state champion. He birdied 2 of his final 3 holes on Tuesday at Rivercut Golf Course, helping hold off runner-up Hollis Gines of Bloomfield, 149 strokes, and capture a Class 1 individual title. King's effort, a 2-day score of 147 strokes, 2 over par, spearheaded another first for GDA, its first team title. 5 years after the program's genesis, the Lions, 654 strokes, edged Bloomfield 659, an effort aided by King, Landon, Nicholas 168, Carter King 168, Asher Ogden 173, and Luke Austin 182. With a shotgun start on Tuesday, King, who led the majority of the tournament, entered his final 3 holes knowing a series of bad swings could be the difference between first and second. He delivered, shooting 1 under on back-to-back holes, number 7 and number 8, a pair of birdies that added insurance before his trot to number 9, a double bogey. There is a picture of Gloria Deo senior Trenton King. He ended his 12 years at the Springfield Private School by earning both an individual state golf title and a team title on Tuesday. The picture of him standing at the golf course with a big smile on his face. Quote, "There were some nerves," end quote, said King, who finished 15th at state as a junior. Quote, "But I hit my tee shot on 9 and kept it dry. That was pretty big for the morale," end quote. King's coach, Isaac Franklin, enjoyed watching a longtime GDA student represent his school on such a significant stage. His teammates, including twin brother Carter King, kept their poise in a key stretch. Quote, "In those last 5 holes, I just saw the players stay cool, calm, and collected," end quote, Franklin said. Quote, "Jesus took the pressure off when he died on the cross, so I told the players to play loose and play free. They did, and we got the results we wanted," end quote. King was also an all-district basketball player at GDA, along with Carter King, a pair who also teamed up on the school's fishing team. Quote, "I'm just so super blessed to be honest. This team, this coach, it's awesome," end quote, King said. Quote, "The school has been great, so it's awesome to end it like this," end quote. Class 5 Christian County duo go 1-2. There is a picture of Nixa senior Peyton Burbridge, who is holding a golf club on a golf course. The Highway 14 rivalry made its way to the Country Club of Missouri in Columbia, the grandest stage in big school Missouri state golf. Nixa senior Peyton Burbridge shot 5 birdies on Tuesday and had back-to-back daily scores of 69, helping him become the Eagles' first boys state golf champion. To earn that label, Burbridge had to get past Ozark junior Riley Franklin, who shot 70 on back-to-back days, to finish runner-up in a taut Class 6 medalist battle. Class 3 Elliott earns first state boys golf title for Catholic. At Sedalia County Club, sophomore Harper Lee joined the multiple state golf champions from the Springfield area on Tuesday. Elliott shot a 2-day score of 141, a 69 followed by a 72, to share a Class 3 state title with St. Francis Bourgeois Houston Tiefenbrunn. Elliott Catholic's first individual boys state golf champion also paced a Fighting Irish team that placed 3rd at 608 strokes behind Eldon, 596 strokes, and Blair Oaks at 598 strokes. Class 2 Rust medals for Ash Grove. At Bogey Creek Golf Club in Farmington, Ash Grove Jr. Easton Rust placed 9th on Tuesday in Class 2 after shooting a 151, which is 77 plus 74. Rust was a state runner-up in 2025.
And a man has been charged in Greene County with domestic assault, including strangulation. Steve Pokin with the Springfield Daily Citizen says prosecutors have charged a 32-year-old Greenfield man with a domestic assault in the first degree, a crime punishable by up to 30 years in prison, for allegedly strangling a woman he knew on May 13th in Springfield. Kyle Lee McCauley was charged May 14th and was booked into the Greene County Jail on Monday morning, May 18th. He is being held without bond. According to court documents, the victim told police that McCauley had threatened to kill her or her kids, and she believed he might try to kill her. A third party called 911 on May 13th to report the victim was being assaulted. The third party told police the victim had said she was begging for her life and, quote, playing dead. The Springfield officer who went to the scene reported that McCauley had fled. Following is a booking photo of McCauley from the Greene County Jail. He is wearing a white ribbed tank top, standing in front of the gray cinder block wall, and honestly, he just looks angry. The officer also reported that the victim's voice was very hoarse, her eyes were bloodshot, and that there were bruises on her neck, the shape, size, and spacing consistent with being made by fingers being pressed into her neck. The officer wrote that the victim said McCauley was drinking and had damaged the home, and that, quote, McCauley punched her in the side of the head multiple times with a closed fist while she begged him to stop. She said he was on top of her for a couple minutes, she could not breathe, and was just trying to get him off of her. The victim told the officer that McCauley eventually went into another room and broke more property. He then fled in her vehicle with her cell phone. The officer wrote the victim said, quote, McCauley had used a weapon against her or threatened her with a weapon in the past, and that he, quote, tried to control most of her daily activities. McCauley also faces a charge of domestic assault in the second degree, which is punishable by up to 7 years in prison. It is the more serious charge of domestic assault in the first degree that includes the specific allegation of strangulation. Officers are trained to detail in their report the elements of a domestic assault that indicate strangulation. In 2023, the Springfield Daily Citizen published a series of stories on domestic violence in Greene County called Living in Fear. In that series, reporter Jackie Rewald interviewed Brooke Batesel, a forensic nurse at Cox Health. Batesel said strangulation is one of the most lethal ways to demonstrate power and control in domestic violence situations. It is also among the most common. Quote, the abuser is basically holding their life in their hands and having control on whether or not that person takes another breath, Batesel said. It's a very personal assault, and you can strangle someone without leaving any marks. A person strangled can become unconscious within seconds, she said. All it can take is 6 to 8 seconds of pressure to the neck. The person is unconscious and can die within minutes if that pressure is not released, Batesel said, and I'm talking 1 to 2 minutes. Online court records did not yet indicate when McCauley's next court date will be. He does not have an attorney listed as representing him.
Westlake Ace Hardware Fan Drive Helps Beat Dangerous Summer Heat by Dave DeMiles, Springfield News-Leader. As summer temperatures rise, Westlake Ace Hardware and the Salvation Army have launched their annual fan drive to help local residents stay cool and safe during the hottest months of the year. The campaign runs from May 18th through June 6th and raises money to provide new box fans that are distributed locally by Salvation Army commands. The fans are intended to support individuals and families who may struggle to afford cooling during periods of extreme heat. Last year, Westlake Ace customers in Springfield raised enough money to donate 98 box fans for distribution in the community. Customers can contribute by rounding up their purchases at participating Westlake Ace stores. Every dollar raised stays in the local community. Online donations are also accepted through the Salvation Army's fan drive page at salarmy.us. There is a picture of multiple box fans that are stacked up on top of each other. Nationwide, the fan drive spans about 210 Ace Hardware stores across the country. Since the program began, it has raised more than $1 million and provided more than 70,000 fans. Quote, "The fan drive shows how small acts of generosity can make a meaningful difference," end quote. Jeremy Van Omeren, Vice President of Stores for Ace Retail Group, said in a statement, quote, "Working together with the Salvation Army and our customers, we're proud to help provide a simple solution that can vastly improve comfort and safety during the hottest months of the year," end quote. Quote, "Summer heat can place a serious strain on individuals and families who are already facing difficult circumstances," end quote. Commissioner Merle Heatwool, National Commander of the Salvation Army, said, quote, "Through this partnership, we're able to respond in a practical and meaningful way, offering not just relief from the heat, but a reminder that people are seen, supported, and not alone," end quote. Westlake Ace Hardware has served customers for more than 120 years, offering tools, paint, plumbing supplies, lawn and garden products, pet supplies, and other home essentials. The company operates as part of Ace Retail Group, which owns and operates more than 260 stores in 18 states, from its headquarters in the Kansas City area. Learn more at westlakehardware.com.
And a trial for a third suspect in the 2023 fatal drive-by shooting ends with a guilty verdict. Jackie Rewald from the Springfield Daily Citizen brings us this article that begins with a photo of Cortez Washington as he listens to testimony during his trial on Tuesday, May 19th. Washington was one of multiple defendants charged in the November 14th, 2023 killing of Chavez Nguyen in downtown Springfield. In his closing arguments Thursday, Greene County Assistant Prosecutor Joshua Harrell reminded jurors of what they saw and heard in the body camera video of the first officer on the scene of the 2023 drive-by shooting that left 26-year-old Chavez Nguyen dead and Nguyen's pregnant girlfriend Haley Frillman seriously injured. "Help him, help him, help him, help him," Harrell said. Those are the first words Haley Frillman said to Officer Chronister when he arrived. Haley had been shot multiple times. She was losing a lot of blood. She believed she was dying, the prosecutor continued. But her thought was not to herself. It was to her boyfriend, the father of her child, Chavez, who was next to her and in worse shape. Frillman, who was driving, and Nguyen, who was in the passenger seat, were fired on by multiple shooters on the evening of November 14, 2023, at the intersection of College Street and Grant Avenue in downtown Springfield as the couple was headed to a restaurant. One of the suspected shooters, 20-year-old Cortez Washington, stood trial this week in Todd Meyer's courtroom. Quote, "This courage, this heroism, this selflessness on behalf of Miss Frillman just minutes after having her world literally blown apart around her stands in stark contrast to the cowardly choices made by this man," Harrell continued, pointing to Washington seated at the defense table. His cowardly choices to participate with a group of armed friends in stalking Haley and Chavez through downtown Springfield, and then unloading 5 different firearms into the car of someone they didn't even know, a car they had no idea who was inside. Washington's trial began with jury selection on Monday, May 18th. The jury of 2 men and 10 women began their deliberations around 2 p.m. on Thursday. Washington was charged with first-degree murder for Nguyen's death, first-degree assault for the shooting and seriously injuring Frillman, 4 counts of armed criminal action, and 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon. Just before the jury was brought back to the courtroom for the attorney's closing arguments on Thursday, Washington and his defense attorney Tom Norrid informed the judge that Washington did not want Myers to give the jury the option of convicting him of second-degree murder. The choice would be guilty or not guilty of first-degree murder, which carries a life without parole sentence. After about 4 hours of deliberations, the jury returned with a guilty on all charges verdict. Washington is the third of 5 co-defendants convicted in the drive-by shooting. He will be sentenced on Friday, May 22nd, that is today. Frillman was 22 and 7 months pregnant when the drive-by shooting happened. Frillman was shot 3 times, in her finger, her leg, and her arm. Her injuries caused her to have a high-risk pregnancy, and she was in a wheelchair for months. Nguyen, Frillman's boyfriend for more than a year and the father of her baby, was shot numerous times and died on the scene. Frillman and Nguyen's family have always maintained that Nguyen did not know the 5 defendants and it must have been a case of mistaken identity. No information was presented during the trial to indicate that any of the suspects knew Nguyen or Frillman. Frillman testified on Tuesday, describing to the jury how a dark sedan with tinted windows carrying several occupants seemed to be following them as the couple traveled north on Kansas Expressway, nearing Chestnut Expressway. She turned onto Chestnut and the sedan drove in the lane next to her car. She testified the car drove window to window alongside her vehicle, but the car's tinted windows prevented her from seeing inside the car. Frillman said she turned right onto Grant Avenue and the other car continued on, but a few seconds later the sedan was following them again and pulled alongside Frillman's car. At the stoplight at Grant and College, the occupants in the other car just started shooting, Frillman testified. I didn't see it coming, she testified. I thought it was a dream. The first co-defendant in the murder case, 22-year-old Alicia Bedell, stood trial in December 2025. Bedell was found guilty on first-degree murder for killing Nguyen, first-degree assault for shooting and seriously injuring Frillman, 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon for shooting out of the vehicle, and 3 counts of armed criminal action. Bedell was sentenced to multiple life sentences. Timothy Hester, 19, pleaded guilty on April 3rd, less than 2 weeks before he was to stand trial. First-degree murder, first-degree assault, and 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon. He admitted to being the driver and a shooter. According to that plea agreement, Hester will be sentenced to 30 years for the murder charge and 20 years for the assault charge. These sentences are to be served consecutively for a total of 50 years. Because Hester was younger than 18 at the time of the shooting, he is eligible for a sentence less severe than life without parole sentence that first-degree murder carries for adult defendants. As part of that plea agreement, Hester agreed to testify against the remaining 3 co-defendants who had not yet stood trial, including Washington, Cesar Bolanos, and Arshawn Bradley. However, Hester was not called to testify during Washington's trial this week. Bolanos and Bradley face the same charges as Bedell and Washington, and they remain in the Greene County Jail awaiting trial. In his opening statement on Tuesday, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Connor Brown explained to the jury the state's theory of what happened and who was involved. 2 years ago, a nightmare unfolded in downtown Springfield, Brown said. On the evening of November 14, 2023, a sudden burst of violence shattered an otherwise ordinary night. A little after 8 p.m., without any warning, without any provocation, bullets riddled the side of a car, Brown continued. Dozens of shots in just under 3 seconds. Those bullets tore through a Chevy Cruze driven by Haley Frillman. Her boyfriend, Chavez Nguyen, was sitting beside her in the passenger seat. Both Frillman and Nguyen were shot multiple times. Nguyen died almost instantly. Frillman managed to pull their car over and scream for help. The evidence in this case will show the defendant, Cortez Washington, otherwise known as Blick or Blicky, his rap names, was one of the individuals responsible for the bullets that took Chavez's life, Brown continued in his opening. The picture will be clear. The defendant was one of the shooters responsible, one of those persons who made the choice to get inside a car and carry out an ambush shooting. During the trial, prosecutors showed the jury numerous videos and social media posts made by the co-defendants, many of which seemed to point to their involvement in the crimes. Prosecutors also presented videos of Washington rapping about drive-by shootings. One of those rap videos began with a KY3 Crime Stoppers report naming Washington as a suspect in the drive-by shooting. Another video depicted Washington sitting on a car door's rolled-down window and aiming a gun over the top of the car, a position prosecutors believe Washington was likely in when he shot at Frillman's vehicle. According to information presented during the trial, Washington and the other 4 co-defendants were at Hester's then-girlfriend's apartment that day. Around 7 p.m., the group left in the girlfriend's car to take a dog to Hester's brother's home. The car was equipped with OnStar, which the girlfriend used to track where her car was that night, and investigators later used to map the suspect's movements. Quote, "But you will see they didn't just take a dog and drop it off. They then drove through the city of Springfield," Brown said. GPS data and surveillance footage will show that the vehicle drove north on Kansas Expressway, then onto Chestnut, following Haley, and ultimately that location data will put it at the scene of the shooting exactly when the shooting happened. Hester's ex-girlfriend testified at Washington's trial. She asked not to be photographed. Fearing for her safety, she has since moved to another state. After the shooting, the car loaded with the co-defendants returned to Hester's girlfriend's apartment, and Bedell called a friend to ask for a ride. That friend, who also testified at Washington's and Bedell's trial, picked up Bedell and 4 other men in his van. This witness testified that he didn't know Washington personally, but recognized him that night as G. Blicko, a local rapper who he'd seen before in YouTube videos. The witness testified he dropped the person whom he believed to be G. Blicko at a residence on Sunset Street. He testified that G. Blicko dropped what appeared to be an AR-style pistol when he got out of the witness's van. A woman who was at that apartment testified Washington came to the residence on Sunset Street because his then-girlfriend also lived there. This third witness said Washington's then-girlfriend had seen a news story on social media about the downtown shooting and told Washington that night, quote, "Y'all are so dumb for having a shootout downtown where there's cameras." The witness said Washington's only response was, quote, "It wasn't really a shootout." In his closing arguments Thursday, Harrell reminded the jury of that statement. When Washington's then-girlfriend says that the defendant is stupid for getting into a shootout downtown where there's cameras, Harrell said, the defendant's response is, quote, "It wasn't really a shootout." Not, "I wasn't there," not, "I don't know what you're talking about," not, "I didn't do it, but it wasn't really a shootout." And when you think about it, it wasn't, Harrell said, because a shootout implies something like a gunfight where there's people shooting on both sides. This was just an ambush. Washington did not testify, and his attorney, Tom Norrid, called no witnesses. In his closing arguments, Norrid argued there was no evidence Washington was in the suspect vehicle at the time of the shooting. Norrid acknowledged the state had presented plenty of GPS evidence that put the suspect vehicle at the scene of the drive-by shooting, but the defense attorney argued that GPS data doesn't show who was inside the car. Norrid reminded the jury that Hester's ex-girlfriend testified that she didn't remember seeing Washington with the other co-defendants when they returned to her apartment after the shooting. To impeach this woman's testimony, the prosecutor played 2 clips from the body camera footage of a Springfield police detective who interviewed Hester's girlfriend the day after the shooting. In those videos, she told the detective that Washington was with the group when they'd returned to her apartment later that night. Norrid also reminded the jury that Bedell's friend who picked them up in the van admitted to using marijuana and psilocybin or magic mushrooms that evening. Quote, "Look at the evidence and the instructions. You cannot find him guilty of first-degree murder or first-degree assault," Norrid said. "There is no evidence he pulled the trigger. There is no evidence he aided or encouraged anyone to do that."
Things to do in summer with kids around Springfield. Plan your family's best summer yet with water parks, camping trips, splash pads, stargazing, and other classic Ozark adventures by Taryn Shore McKee. There is a picture of 3 young girls outside in a nature setting. They are laughing and smiling with their arms around each other. School's out, the days stretch longer, sometimes with seemingly no end, and every parent finds himself looking for ways to fill those hours. Lucky for us, Springfield and the surrounding areas are a wonderful place to be this season. From lake days and berry picking to caves, campgrounds, and old school county fairs, there's no shortage of ways to turn summer break into something memorable in the Ozarks. Cool off at local parks. When the heat index starts climbing, water play becomes less luxury, more survival strategy. Springfield has steadily expanded its offerings of splash pads, spray grounds, and parks with other water features, giving families plenty of low-cost, usually free, ways to cool down. Rather than reinvent the wheel or spend a bunch of time researching, check out our recent guide to staying cool with kids, a detailed roundup of the area's best splash pads, community pools, water parks, and more, including favorites, Jordan Valley Park's fountains, and the shallow creek-style wading areas at Busiek State Forest. It's one of the easiest summer outings around, minimal planning, less expense, and enough entertainment to burn off energy. Dive into a community pool. There's something timeless about a city pool in the summer. The smell of sunscreen mingling with chlorine, Dippin' Dots and snack bar-sized bags of chips. The sound of lifeguards' whistles echoing across the water. It all adds up to a coming-of-age rite of passage. Most community pools throughout the Ozarks open for the season around June 1st and wrap up in mid-August as local schools head back into session. The region's aquatic centers are some of the biggest draws, catering to both younger kids with features like zero-entry pools and older kids with slides and sports equipment. A few standouts include the water park-esque Rush in Republic, Nixa's Aquatic Center with basketball hoops and slides, and indoor pools like Doling and Chesterfield, which notably are open year-round. Hit the lake. Few things feel more quintessentially Ozarks than a summer day spent in the lake. Within a short drive of Springfield, families can choose from quiet coves to sprawling party lakes, sandy swim beaches, or adorable walkable main drags just off the water that feels surprisingly close to a coastal vacation, minus the airfare. Table Rock Lake reigns as the heavyweight summer champion. Families flock to Moonshine Beach for its broad shoreline and calm swimming area, while Indian Point offers excellent public access and hundreds of lakeview accommodation options. Several area marinas rent boats and other equipment such as tubes and paddleboards. Stockton Lake has long been a favorite for fishing and sailing, but its 5 swimming beaches and clear water also deserve a nod. Pomme de Tar Lake offers a slower pace and typically smaller crowds. With tons of camping, a full-service marina, and multiple beach areas, it's particularly good for families wanting a more relaxed lake weekend without the heavier boat traffic at bigger destinations. And if you want lake vibes without leaving town, you're in luck. Fellows Lake and Lake Springfield have kayak, canoe, and paddleboard rentals that work well for quicker adventures, and Fellows even rent sailboats. Float the river. If a lazy float is more your scene, well, we don't blame you. The Ozarks are packed with scenic bluff-lined float options within a short drive of Springfield, ranging from leisurely family-friendly stretches to more adventurous routes with small rapids. Rivers like the James, Nyanga, Merrimack, Current, and Jack's Fork all have their own draws. For example, the James is closest to home for many 417 landers, but does not have gravel bars to hang out on. The Current at Jack's Fork have plenty, but are also known for being a bit more lively. Up for a slightly bigger adventure, head down into Arkansas and float the Buffalo River, a bucket list worthy trip. We've rented gear and booked shuttle services with Buffalo River Outfitters or Buffalo Outdoor Center and highly recommend both. They're also really helpful and knowledgeable about the river and area, so even if you've never been down there, you're in good hands. Insider tip, if you're considering making a weekend of it, base yourself in Ponca or Jasper. Go berry picking. Summer fruit season comes in waves around southwest Missouri, and You Pick Farms make a fantastic family outing. Blueberries usually kick things off in early summer, followed by raspberries and then blackberries later in the season. Many farms provide buckets and simple instructions before turning families loose into the rows to pick their heart's desire. And for those who prefer not to get their hands dirty, most also offer pre-packaged berries. The beauty of berry picking is that it checks multiple boxes at once. Kids burn energy outdoors, learn where food comes from, and often become significantly more interested in fruit because they picked it themselves. It's also a wonderful way for adults to get some fresh air and exercise, and it pairs nicely with baking afterwards. Cobblers, crisps, and homemade jam become a major activity rather than just dessert.
And we would like to thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.